Good morning, world. Today is Tuesday, and the time right now, 9:37. It's not that I'm late for school, but this week is just kind of a nothing week. Yesterday we had a neutral schedule. Today is a half day because of Kazi's exit exams for 10th graders, and tomorrow's the same. And guess what? We don't have school Thursday or Friday. And I'm intentionally late for the BS class meeting. Hey, give me credit. At least I'm showing up. I love the range, it's like a little fortress. Yes, I got bored already, and today's such a nice day outside, so I'm gonna go outside and look for some inspiration. Being alone brings out the artist in me. Sometimes we can get so caught up with the hustle and bustle of the real world that we never hear the birds chirp anymore. Just listen. Okay, there is one thing bad about being out in nature. This fly or bee or something keeps on bugging me, and when I was sitting over there, a seagull pooped and literally it landed like 3 feet away from me. So now I'm just being paranoid until all those seagulls go away. Go away! And I guess the other good thing about being alone is that it's easier to embarrass yourself. So I've been out here for a while now, about half an hour, and I actually want to talk about something that's on my mind. Today I want to talk about metacognition. Now the prefix meta, according to my handy little dictionary here, can mean after, along with, beyond, among, behind. But for the purposes of this vlog, when I add the prefix meta to a word, I'm taking a step back and looking at that concept from a bigger picture. So I'd say that metacognition means thinking about thinking. So let me start off by posing this question to you. How well do you think you understand yourself? Now, most people probably think that everyone has free will, free control over their thoughts, behaviors, and actions. But that's not actually quite true. Recently I've picked up this amazing book, 40 Tales from the Afterlives by David Eagleman, and in fact if you watch my very first vlog, this is where the metamorphosis theory comes from. The book is composed entirely of 40 really short stories, and it's all speculative fiction. All the stories examine really deep life and death philosophies, and it does that by kind of exploring 40 different possible afterlives. So listen carefully. Right now I'm going to read you an excerpt from one of the stories. It's called Mirrors. Mirrors. To understand the meaning of this afterlife, you must remember that everyone is multifaceted. And since you always lived inside your own head, you were much better at seeing the truth about others than you ever were at seeing yourself. So, you navigated your life with the help of others who held up mirrors for you. People praised your good qualities and criticized your bad habits, and these perspectives, often surprising to you, helped you to guide your life. So poorly did you know yourself that you were always surprised at how you looked in photographs, or how you sounded on voicemail. In this way, much of your existence took place in the eyes, ears, and fingertips of others, and now that you've left the earth, you are stored in scattered heads around the globe. So if you caught any of that, Eagleman basically says that we can't really understand ourselves because we've only seen things from our perspective. And he says that the only people who can really understand us are the people around us. And therein lies the crux and the challenge of metacognition, trying to understand yourself. It's just past 11 o'clock right now. I've been out here for an hour. But my laptop is kind of running out of battery, and something like up there, I hope it was sap, I hope it wasn't bird poop, but it just totally dripped on my computer screen. So I'm gonna go back inside to the range to get it cleaned out. I'm now trying to look for people, for friends, but I guess they're not even done yet. Now, I would argue that I don't understand myself very well at all. And I don't think it's because of irrationality that some of my thoughts or actions are irrational, but rather that some of these things go beyond conscious understanding or awareness. If you want a prime example of that, look in the description. I've posted a link to a note that I wrote called Desired Suffering. I also think it's especially hard for people who are unstable or complicated like me to understand themselves, while all a conformist has to do is look at the environment and people around him or her. Now, it'd be really hard to come up with a laundry list of things people wonder about themselves, because that's really done on an individual basis. Well, my short day of 30 minutes classes was over really fast. Since it's such a nice clear night, I thought I'd just take a quick walk and finish up vlogging while, enjoying the sunset. So one of the things that I want to examine is some of the things that people do to learn more about themselves. One of the things that's most recently become very popular is social media, for example, Facebook or MySpace. So what exactly is the purpose of these sites? Well, when you create a profile, you're really projecting an image, you're creating an image of yourself and putting it online for other people to see. So the style with which you create this profile and what you decide to put on it really shows a lot about you. Social media also provides a non-awkward atmosphere for you to interact with other people, because I really agree that you learn a lot more about yourself from other people than you really do from anything else. And there's one other thing I think you can do to get to know yourself better, and especially if you want to track how you change over time. Writing. That's right, writing. And I'm not talking about the English class 5-paragraph essay writing. In fact, I don't like that kind of essay because I think it's really standardized our writing ability a lot. The writing I'm talking about refers more to the bloggy, journal diary entry, stream of consciousness narration type of writing. Writing that you do for absolutely no other purpose than to express yourself. So a few weeks ago, I was looking at some of the archives of some of my old Facebook activity. Like, I went all the way back to when I first created it. And then all of a sudden, I remembered that before I had a Facebook, I had a MySpace, so I decided to check that out. Honestly, I did not remember this, but on my MySpace, I had kept a blog. So I went back and read some of the things I wrote 2-3 years ago, and it was just a treasure trove of information. To be honest, I was really surprised that the style that I wrote with back then is actually very similar to the style I write with right now. I mean, just intuitively, I would think that it has changed a lot, but I guess it hasn't. And I have even more evidence of how a piece of writing can show a lot about its author. So a few days ago, I was listening to a Radiolab short called Vanishing Words, and basically there was this English professor who took some of his favorite books and analyzed them. And he did this by plugging every single word of a book into a computer and having it come up with the word concordance, which is a list of every single word used along with their frequency and context. And he got around to analyzing the novels of the author Agatha Christie, who is the best-selling author of all time. And he found that most of Christie's books were really consistent in their use of vocabulary. But there was something really strange about Christie's last book. In her last book, her vocabulary dropped 20%, and her use of really indefinite words increased. And the English professor concluded that in her final years, Agatha Christie had developed Alzheimer's. Now, she had never been diagnosed with any sort of dementia, so the only way one could really know is by looking at her books. If you're interested in this, I've posted a link to the full podcast in the description. I really recommend that you listen to it. And of course, I recommend that you do some writing. So, in conclusion, metacognition, trying to get to know yourself, is a really tough challenge. But there is a glimmer of hope, there is something positive about all of this. In the end, you are the only person who can understand yourself. You are the only person who can accept yourself and be happy with yourself. Because other people, when they're learning about you, have a tendency to judge you for your faults. But in the end, it's individualism that wins. You are your best companion.